Welcome back to Technically Baking. Today we are making Paul Hollywood scones from the Great British Bake Off, Series 1, Episode 2. Now let's quickly look at the difference between English scones and American scones. Traditional English scones are barely sweet. They are usually eaten with sweet jam and clotted cream, and they are lighter and flakier than their American counterparts. American scones are often dense wedges or triangles, while British scones are taller and usually round. They look a bit like tall American biscuits, but they're sweeter and fluffier. British scones are reasonably dense, but not as dense as American scones. All right, now let's get to baking. First, we're going to want to preheat our oven to 425 degrees and get a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. You will need a large bowl. Add 450 grams of flour and 80 grams of softened butter and rub them together to create a breadcrumb-like mixture. Add 80 grams of sugar, 2 eggs, and 5 teaspoons of baking powder. Grab a wooden spoon to mix and incorporate all the ingredients by getting all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. Now add 125 milliliters of milk and turn the mixture until gently combined. Slowly add an additional 125 milliliters of milk at a time to create a wet, very soft dough. All the milk might not be needed. Sprinkle your work surface with flour and tip your dough out, and sprinkle more flour on top. The mixture will be wet and sticky. Now we are going to do what is called chafing. That is where we fold the dough in half and then turn the dough 90 degrees and repeat. By turning and folding the dough this way, air will be added and the last of the flour will be incorporated. We're going to do this until the dough is smooth. Be careful not to overwork your dough. If your mixture is overly sticky, to make it more manageable, coat your hands with flour and add a little extra flour to the mixture. Now we're ready to roll out our dough. Sprinkle the top and bottom of your dough and your work surface with flour. Then use a rolling pin to roll up and down from the middle of your dough. Turn your dough 90 degrees and continue to roll it until it is about 1 inch thick. Before we get to cutting, lift the edges of your dough lightly and allow the edges to drop back onto your work surface so it relaxes slightly. Choose your desired size of a round cutter and stamp out 4 to 5 scones and place them onto your baking sheet. Do not twist the cutter, just firmly press and lift it up and push your dough out. To make it easier to cut out scones without them sticking to your cutter, you can have a bowl of flour close by and dip your cutter between scones. Any excess dough can be reworked and rolled out again. Only downside to that is scones resulting won't be as fluffy. Place your scones on your prepared baking tray and let them rest for 3 to 5 minutes. That way the baking powder can do its job. Finally, take your finger or a pastry brush and glaze your scones with a mixture of 1 beaten egg and a little bit of salt. Make sure your glaze remains on top and doesn't round down the sides. The scones will not rise evenly if the glaze runs. Bake your scones in the middle of your preheated oven for about 15 minutes, or until they are golden brown and have risen. Leave the scones to cool. Now while our scones are cooling, let's make some toppings for our scones. English scones are traditionally served with clotted cream and jam. Clotted cream is a little thinner than cream cheese and tastes like unsweetened whipping cream with a hint of unsalted butter. It's rich, creamy, and a little greasy. Clotted cream is a thick cream obtained by heating milk slowly and then allowing it to cool while the cream content rises up to the top in coagulated lumps. This didn't sound very appealing to me, so I will be making fresh whipped cream and homemade blueberry jam. To make fresh whipped cream, put about a cup of heavy whipping cream into your stand mixer or whatever mixer you have, and add a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. You can stop there and have yummy whipped cream, but I like to add a teaspoon of vanilla as well. You can get creative and add whatever you like. For our jam, add 12 ounces of fresh blueberries or frozen ones that you have let thaw in a pan on medium heat. Now any fruit will work if you are unable to find blueberries or they just aren't your thing. Add 250 grams of sugar and a half a box of premium fruit pectin. I use Sure-Gel and it works great. Let your jam boil for 4 minutes. Once it's ready, you can either let it cool or you can use as is, or grab your immersion blender and smooth it out. Now all that is left to do is assemble and enjoy. I will link the recipe I use below. Thank you for joining me, and please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook. They are linked in the channel's About tab.